Hi, everyone. How are you? Great to see you. Last breakout session of the day. We're looking forward to, I think, small Italian sandwiches, apparently, after this. So thank you, Sarah. Sandwiches. Let's get this going. Death and taxes. That's what we're talking about today. And I just let all the energy out of the room with that one, right? Death and taxes. Two things that are inevitable. Death and taxes, right? You're going to die at some point, and you got to file your taxes every single year. By a show of hands, I think you just said, how many people use TurboTax? Okay, not bad. The rest of you, CPAs or accountants or another tax software, I'm guessing, yeah? Okay, well, TurboTax is what we're talking about today. I won't spend too much time on death. But this is another way to think about taxes, and most of us feel this way. You want to avoid them, right? You want to avoid taxes, and you want to avoid death. So raise your hands. How many people actually try to avoid death? Okay. Some of you are not. Okay, I'm a little concerned about those people. Tax is true, right? Everybody wants to avoid taxes, even myself, right? It's complicated. I don't really want to do my taxes, and that's the challenge that we have at TurboTax. Every single day, we're fighting an uphill battle. People don't want to do their taxes. Why? Anybody know why? Life changes. There's a lot of complexity in your life. You're moving, you have a child, you get a new job, you invest in a business, maybe cryptocurrency. All of that makes your taxes a little bit more difficult, and it's a challenge, and you just sit there and go, why do I want to do my taxes? Like, nobody gets up in the morning and says, this is a great day, I'm going to play around at golf, and then I'm going to do my taxes. It's just not on the list, right? So it's our job at TurboTax to make sure that you're inspired, you're a little bit educated, we give you the confidence to do your taxes properly. So our challenge has three primary things. We need to make sure that customers really understand that we can provide confidence, right? We have the experts to help them do their taxes, to get them done right, to give them the best outcome, and hopefully the maximum refund. That's key, confidence. We're not trying to sell a product, we're trying to sell confidence. That's our biggest challenge. We're solving their issues, right? If you have a problem, you understand, I just bought a house. How do I solve that? What do I do with my taxes? How do I file them? We provide that experience and that expertise to get taxes done. So we move from our taxes, and we have to expand. We have to make it more personalized. We have to make it more contextual. And how do we do that? We do that with Movable Ink. And that's why we're here today. We want to show you a few examples of how we take the challenge that we have every day with taxes with Movable Ink and make it a little bit more of an experience for customers. Three things in our first show we wanted to do with Movable Ink. Personalization, relevant context, right? The content has to be relevant to the customer. And we needed to move fast. We have a rather sizable team, but tax season is 4 months long. It's January to April. That's it. That's our season. We don't have 12 months a year. So everything has to move a little bit faster during tax season. And we'll show you a few examples of how we do that. This is what our email program looked like last year. It was a single linear journey. It started from the time that someone started their taxes, when they signed in for the first time in the season. And then we had a series of triggered emails that just went out in a linear cadence. Not too exciting. So we had a mandate this year to use the new data sets that we were given and find a tool like Movable Ink to achieve something a little bit better. And we ended up with this hot mess. This is a disaster here. But you know what? It works. We built this. It's complex. There's 27 different automations. They all interact with each other, and they all tell each other, hey, if this happened, this doesn't happen, show this customer this. They all interact. And we needed something like Movable Ink to somehow translate this to the customer. How do we make this simple for the customer so they understand where they are in the product? And so I'm going to break this down into three sections, and then we'll focus on one. We have an onboarding section. We have a progression section that's taking people from the top of the funnel down to the finish line. And then we have interventions. Interventions, pretty straightforward. There's a challenge that someone had in the product. We try to solve it. We give them the reason why they have that challenge or why they're stuck. And then we try to find the solution for them. Interventions, pretty straightforward. The main one we're going to focus on for this session is progression. And so from the top to the bottom of this chart is the customer going from the top of the funnel to the finish line. And in this green section called progression, which we call WIP, work in progress, the customer proceeds along milestones that they hit in the product. So there's 5 milestones, and each milestone represented on a line here is a series of triggered emails. And as the customer goes from one segment to the next, a flag flips over. We know that they hit the next milestone. So that's the basis for how we now work with Movable Ink to show the customer visually where they are in this mess. Pretty straightforward. We're going to take the data, we're going to move it into Movable Ink and make this a lot simpler for the customer. So let's talk about personalized content. This email right here was last year's email. It's very generic. There's nothing personalized, there's no context, nothing relevant to the customer. This was a marketing team making the decisions of what we thought was best to show to this segment. I'll blow up the progress bar in the middle. It visually looked okay. You can see it's the start on the left and finish on the right. And that's it. Every customer, whether they were at 10% or 40% or 85%, they got that exact same progress bar. So that's a disaster waiting to happen, and it happened. So we had to take that mandate and fix it. And we did that with Movable Link. Let's see what that looks like. Now, focus on the graphic here. This is the Movable Link module that we built. It is dynamic, and you'll see it change as I flip slides. First thing we did is we needed to connect those milestone data points that we talked about. That's taking the customer down the steps towards the finish line. You can see it changes now. We add some business rules. This is all done in Movable Link. Was the customer new or returning? Did the customer choose this SKU or that SKU? What was the life event that the customer had? Where are they in the product? All of that will change as they make progress down the funnel. Even the percentage, 36% complete, changes based on an algorithm that our data team provides to us. We take that algorithm, it comes up with a final number, that gets passed to Movable Link, and it displays above the progress bar along with dynamic content. Moving right along actually changes the message based on the customer and the values that they have. And all of this becomes now a clear, concise visual for the customer to tell them where they are. You can see the blue is where they're progressing. They know exactly which step they're at. They know which steps they have to continue. And then everything up above in text is actually dynamic. It gives them a little bit of context. What's nice about the Movable Link team, and I got a shout out to Zach Nealon at Movable Link, he helped us build this. He actually built it so that if they skipped a step, which happens, I don't want to enter my income, but I want to enter my expenses first. If they skip a step, he actually programmed to switch the data. So even another layer of personalization where people see, wow, it's not linear. I can move around my TurboTax product and still see where my progress is. Fantastic work by Zach. So here's what that Movable Link progress bar looks like in an email. This was one of our most successful emails. And keep in mind, with Movable Ink and TurboTax, we wanted to keep our emails simple because we're not trying to sell a product to the customers. We're trying to sell them confidence. And by providing a simple email that just says where you are in the progress, what you have left, if you want to call an expert, let's get you out to the finish line. That's what it looks like in here. And for each customer, as you can see, that's what the progress looks like. It's all dynamic. It's all different for every single customer. One-to-one marketing right there, personalized. Super helpful, super relevant. And this is what's great about Movable Link. Side note, halfway through the season, executives came to us and said, next year, everything has to be in Spanish. Every email you develop needs to be in Spanish. And at first, that was a daunting task, but then we realized this is already in Movable Link. We've got the data. It's the exact same data, the exact same business rules. As long as we create a new creative in Spanish, we can copy the campaign, put in the new graphics, and we have an entirely Spanish version. Pretty awesome. That's in terms of speed, that's what we want to see. This one I was going to skip, but let's just show you. A/B testing in Movable Ink. So this is the original one, which I loved. I thought this was going to win, and it didn't. I was shocked. 29% click-through rate lift when we did an A/B test in the product in Movable Ink, which is fantastic. We don't have to go to another source to do the test. And there you have it. We ended up with the chevrons instead of the circles. I may bring them back. Thank you for leaving this in. Was this successful? The progress bar with Movable Link, was it successful? If you look at this chart on the right, don't need you to understand everything in it, but generally, if you look at the red bar, which looks orange on the screen here, if the orange is larger at the bottom there, then we know we've driven people from the top to the bottom, and in fact, we did a 25% increase when we ran it against our test for customers that started at step 2 and moved down to step 8. 29% will take any day, definitely with this. Built it once, and now it's running. Now we can iterate on it. So as we have our progress bar, we got another call from the executive team saying, by the way, we ran a test in the product, and we wanted to show customers how many minutes they have to finish their taxes. We thought that would be something powerful. If you only have 19 minutes left, you're going to jump right back in and finish your taxes. Sure enough, it worked. And so for us, that meant build this real quick in Movable Ink and get this out to customers in CRM. So it looks great. We're super happy with it. It worked. Unfortunately, we had the progress bar at the bottom, which talks about percentage. And so this customer sees 19 minutes left and 92% complete. Well, they're both true, but unfortunately, it just causes an issue. Well, which one am I? Which one should I believe? And so because they're both a movable link, we're able to put one line of business rule that says, if the race mode up top exists in the email, then show a different version of the movable link progress bar, and we remove the percentage. Simple, fast. It was a 10-minute process to figure that one out and implement it. Speed to market, definitely with movable link using that. So the green circle worked. And then 2 team members at the same time said, why don't we just put the movable link green circle as the entire email itself? So this is a great use case where we have it built to movable link. Let's not reinvent the wheel. It worked. Let's feature it. So this entire email was built with the movable link module, the top text and the green circle, 2 different modules. It's personalized. Nick, you only have 19 minutes left. 1 big green circle. We hope it works. But does it work? Sure does. 32% click-through rate increase and $268,000 in incremental revenue. That's not bad for a 3-day campaign. And the campaign took us literally 10 minutes to build a movable link. We resized one of our modules, dropped it into a new email format, and off we went. We're going to try a blue circle next week, see what happens. Try different colors. Let's talk about relevant content. So this is our emails from last year. 3 of them are very similar, but they're all very generic. Nothing dynamic. So we moved to a more dynamic email this year. Most of the content that you see in this email is dynamic. I'm going to call out one specifically, and that's this one. So this is 4 tiles that showcase our products. A lot of you are in retail, and you have a lot of products. TurboTax has 4. So it's a challenge. All we have is 4 products. So we have to figure out other ways that we're going to market customers. It's about building confidence. 4 tiles, 4 products. So if you keep that in mind, how it exists in the email, it's getting customers to choose one of the 4 products. And so here you can see 4 versions of it because there's a blue bar up top, and that blue bar is dynamic in addition to the actual tiles. 4 different versions of these tiles. Now, it's the same exact product, but there's a slight difference in the graphic. There's a logo in there. Another layer in movable ink. And then 3 on the right are service levels. Do you want to do it yourself? Do you want to do it with the help of an expert? Or do you want to have an expert do it for you? Just drop off your paperwork, send it to them, upload it, and they do it for you. All of that combined makes 82 unique combinations. 82 combinations for 4 products. Okay, we're super happy about that. It works. It's personalized. It's contextual. It tells the customer what product that we're recommending, what product they're currently using, all based on their data attributes. So we'll come back to that in a second. Keep those 4 tiles in mind because it worked, but there was a big flaw, and that was my fault. We'll talk about it here in speed to market, speed development. Last year I was at the conference, and I think it was Office Depot showcased a hidden pixel. Does anybody use a hidden pixel to display images in their emails? Okay, 1 person. This was super helpful. I didn't even think to do this, but there's a module. It's a white pixel at the top of our email. This banner that you see, e-file opens, is dynamic. It's collapsed most of the time, but we can personalize it based on the content. And we can use any of these attributes to determine that content. Time, SKU, geography, all of these are attributes that make sense to the TurboTax customer. And as you can see, this will change. We can segment this movable ink module based on any of these attributes. California storm, e-file open today. Georgia, Alabama. For us, we don't have a lot of things to talk about, but to build confidence, we want to be able to display relevant tax information up top immediately to the customer. So they know if we're on top of it, if we're the first ones to give them that information, they have more confidence, they're going to file with us. This is one of those things. Georgia, Alabama, there was a hurricane in Florida, the southeast. Florida is not Georgia, Alabama, but Florida got hit too. And so we can make that relevant to them, especially we can put their name in there. Varun, you may qualify for Georgia IRS storm tax relief. That's powerful. We're speaking directly to this guy named Varun, and we're telling him he has more time to file his taxes. Super helpful, gives them that sense of confidence. That saves us from 3 to 5 days down to 3 to 5 hours. Not too bad. The only reason it's 3 to 5 hours is because we have to get executive approval on some of the messaging. But in general, it's a 5 to 10 minute fix in movable ink. Super fast, definitely improves our velocity. Now remember those 4 tiles? This is the last example I'll show. If you're in Movable Ink and you're used to building your content blocks, think about how many levels of blocks you have. This is what this one actually looked like, and this was a really long screenshot. That was one screenshot. And so Jess is probably going to yell at me here. She's our account person. She helps us out. I built this myself because I was excited. I jumped into the tool. I'm like, this is great. I'm going to build it all. I got all these versions. You can see the 4 tiles, and there's business rules for each one. There's 17 of those, times 2 because there's mobile, and then times 2 because there's the assisted version. And that's what it looks like. And each one of those had 4 prices in them. Unfortunately, the executive team came halfway through TurboTax this season and said, guess what, we're changing our prices. And in my head, I'm thinking, oh, okay, it'll take me 3.5 hours to fix. And then Jess yells at me and says, why didn't you use the CSV source file feature that we have? And sure enough, they're rebuilding it now. But I can tell you that this is super powerful. We're just scratching the surface on this one. But one single CSV file that exists in Movable Ink with our products. So there you see 4 products times 2 and a couple of outliers. If I change the prices once, it updates every single one of those 4 tiles in all 17 versions, times 2 times 2. That takes us from 3 hours, which I was going to have to do, down to a 3-minute change. Speed to velocity. So if you think about it, think about how you can use that CSV file for stores if you don't have an API, right? This is a great way to do something like that. So let me take you back to our challenge. That was our challenge, if you recall earlier. We have a solution. It's how do we leverage Movable Ink to solve our challenges. And I say that because now when we get into our brainstorming sessions, we're thinking about Movable Ink. It's part of the discussion while we're actually brainstorming. Instead of, here's the campaign, now let's figure out how Movable Ink can be part of it, it's actually part of the original discussion. They'll definitely help us solve things. So our takeaways from year 1, this is our experience, is with data, all of that's driven by data, starting our data early. That's super important, because data is always the one that takes the longest. It's sometimes 3 months instead of 3 weeks that we would expect. Start your data early, you'll be more successful. Build yourself and move quickly, with the caveat that if you think you're doing it right, ask your account person, because they may know better. Thank you, Jess. And test everything and test again. Look, we're in the world of personalization. If you're going to test something with personalization, make sure you have a holdout or a control group, because then you can go to the executives and actually show that that personalization works. And the final one is file your taxes, for those of you that haven't filed. The deadline is October 16th. I know you're paying penalties right now, but you got till October 16th, I promise you. Nobody's coming after you yet. And I'll leave you with this. If anyone's a Ted Lasso fan around personalization, I won't give away the ending. But personalization is true, right? We're here at Movable Ink because of personalization. It improves our business results, and it does wonders for customers. Makes them feel really special. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, I'll be on the side. Appreciate it. Thank you.